This U.S. Open update is brought to you by Mountainland Supply, Zions Bank, Black Desert Resort, Hoops Vision, and Siegfried and Jensen. And now, Real Golf Radio's Bob Casper.
Welcome back, everybody. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Head over to KSLSports.com. You can see all of the coverage across our entire family of the KSL Sports Zone, KSL Sports, all of our insiders, etc. You can download the podcast. Go to the KSL Sports page and click on the podcast button. You can listen to any of the shows all day long, or you can stream them on the YouTube channel as well. KSL Sports, the YouTube channel. You can stream JJ and I here live in studio. Joining us on the program live, he is Bob Casper, Real Golf Radio. He and Brian Taylor do a phenomenal job covering all these tournaments for us, and they're nice enough to dip in and to give us a little bit of a flavor of what's going on at these majors. And, of course, the U.S. Open returns to Oakmont, a classic location, a golf course that's been there since 1904 and was built as just a fun side project I was reading about. Bob, a guy who was a steel magnate in the Pittsburgh area, said, I'm going to make a super hard course that no one is going to have fun playing. And that's, of course, what we tend to abuse our golfers with the U.S. Open. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, Oakmont is definitely what they call the toughest golf course. And now that, 10 times they've had USGA championships here, and so it's going to be an interesting test. I mean, Brian Taylor and I had a chance to play it a little over a month ago, and at the media day, and it's a difficult golf course, really difficult golf course with the rough being 5.5 inches long, and the greens being as fast as they are. It's going to be extremely difficult with whoever is going to win the golf tournament, because they're going to have to get the ball in the fairway and they're going to have to get it on the greens.
Well, just to show how hard it is, Rory McIlroy said Tuesday that he shot an 81 with 2 birdies on the final 2 holes at Oakmont during a scouting trip to the course last week. And, of course, the last time, I think it was in 2016, the last time the Open was held there, he missed the cut. So for him, where's he at with where he's going? Obviously the thrill of the Masters, getting the career Grand Slam. Are you concerned about his state of mind this week as he's going into this what's going to be a really tough battle at the U.S. Open?
Yeah, I am concerned about his state of mind. He was asked in his press conference today, what's your 5-year plan now that you've won the career Grand Slam and eclipsed that milestone? And he said, I don't know. I have no idea right now. And that's kind of telling. He said very similar things at the PGA Championship, that he's achieved all of his goals in the game now that he's got the career Grand Slam. And, it's going to be interesting where he goes from here. He struggled with his driver since the PGA Championship, which was found non-conforming at the PGA, and he had to change. And he said he went home after missing the cut this last week and just figured out that basically he put his old ahead like his old driver in play and not a newer one. So it'll be interesting to see how he does and if he can get the ball in the fairway, because he's known as one of the longest, straightest drivers on tour.
It's interesting, Bob, too, because we were talking about how some courses are play well to certain players, but it seems like this isn't a great course, on top of the fact that Rory might not necessarily be in the headspace right now where he's wanting to compete with the tops in the world, and yet at the same time you've got guys who are fighting to get into the U.S. Open. This is always a very interesting tournament because of the people who are able to sneak in the qualifiers. And we just chatted last hour with Zach Blair, who got snuck in at the Monday qualifier there in Ohio last week. And so this is a huge tournament. And when you talk about the 5+ inches of rough that these guys are going to be hitting into and trying to hit out of, it's not just not forgiving. It's also a place that, you start to even see some of the best golfers in the world get extremely frustrated with. Yeah,
they do. The winners, the recent winners of the U.S. Open here had to have mostly hit about 70 to 75% of their fairways in over the 72 holes. And, they've had to lead or be in the top 5 as far as greens in regulation, too. So ball strikers, getting the ball in position, and it starts with the driver. If you get the ball in the fairways, then you have a chance to maybe not necessarily attack the golf course, but more worry about just making a bunch of pars and trying to sneak one of those birdies in every once in a while. But Bob Ford, who was the professional here for a long time at Oakmont, he said if the golf course has moisture in it, then 5 under par is going to win. If it doesn't have moisture in it, then 5 over par will win. And so it looks like they've had moisture the last couple of days. They're going to have moisture Friday, Saturday, and Sunday again. So expect it to be, even par, maybe 5 under par at the best. That's going to have a chance to win.
Nobody's playing better golf in the world than Scottie Scheffler. And
right.
he's the biggest pre-tournament favorite in a major since Tiger Woods in 2009. If he's to win this tournament, what does that mean? Where does that place him as far as where he's at in his career? And I just can't imagine, the dominance that he's having right now. How would you compare it to a Tiger Woods during his prime?
Well, we talked about Rory McIlroy when he won at the Masters this year, and could he clip off the Grand Slam after getting the career Grand Slam? Well, Rory wasn't able to do it at the PGA Championship and didn't play very well. And Scottie now has 2 of the 4 majors. If he were able to get this one, then he's only one step away of getting the career Grand Slam with an Open Championship. So, if he were to win the U.S. Open, I think that's the next go for him in wanting to get something done, and that is to get the career Grand Slam. We've got Jordan Spieth, who needs to get a PGA Championship to get it done. And so it's going to be interesting to see. A lot of these younger guys are learning how to win, especially majors, early in their career. And this would be really interesting if he's able to get this one done. Now he's going to the Open Championship, and he's got a lot more in his future to be able to get that done.
I was reading an article this week about how this could be the last real hurrah. Not like he's retiring, and it's not like he's not going to play any more tournaments. But we don't see a ton of Phil Mickelson, of course, these days. But he's a guy who, of course, is already a legend in the game kind of during my time frame of watching golf and growing up and watching him do it. And he's been one of the best. The article that I read was like, hey, this might be his actual last good shot at actually competing in a tournament. What are your thoughts on him being able to kind of string something together for one last kind of go at maybe a leaderboard in the last couple of days? Lefty is a guy that needs to get a U.S. Open to win the career Grand Slam. I don't think, especially at this golf course, I don't think he has a chance to be able to do that. We don't know how he's playing. He's become irrelevant as far as the game is concerned because nobody knows what he's doing, and he's been on live. And that's the unfortunate thing about those guys that move that direction is that they're not known. You see the PGA Tour players every week competing for championships and tradition and winning golf tournaments on the PGA Tour. And, there's millions of viewers every week. Well, you might get 100,000 if you're lucky on one day with Live Golf and a lot of guys like that. A lot of guys don't mind the opportunity they have there, the money they're making there, that kind of thing. But I find it very difficult to even think about Phil Mickelson having an opportunity this week. I think I would be very, very surprised.
And we talk about Scottie Scheffler and Rory McIlroy, and for good reason. But one of the great things about the U.S. Open is there's stories like Zach Blair, and we had Zach on the show earlier today. It's great to see him get there for a 4th time, and I don't think you see many people try to rip a 122-yard putt off the fairway into the in the green in a practice round, but he can do that. He got a little viral moment here today, but it was great to talk to him. Your thoughts on what he's been able to do and the guys like Zach Blair who just continue to fight and claw and scratch and then get great opportunities like this at the U.S. Open.
Yeah, like you said, I think he's the last three at the same site there in Springfield, Ohio. But, last year he finished tied for 26th. He had a great U.S. Open last year at Pinehurst. And he's trying to continue to do better and better. And, he's the typical journeyman right now. Hasn't won yet on the PGA Tour, but had a few opportunities where he's gotten close and lost in a couple playoffs. But, Zach's a good player. It's fun to watch him play. He's a ball striker and he's a putter. So if he can be driving the ball in the fairway, when he gets on the greens, he's really, really good with the short stick.
Bob Casper joins us, Real Golf Radio. You can hear he and Brian Taylor on Saturday mornings breaking it down. Well, let's talk about the guys. Obviously, we chatted about Scotty Scheffler, and you talked about guys who you look at and they're like, hey, they want to get this win. But we've seen guys popping up on tour and finishing in the top fives and top tens. And what's that short list for you of guys who have the best shot if it's not Scotty Scheffler?
Well, of course, Rory. If Rory's driving the ball well, he's going to be right in the mix. You think of Colin Morikawa, you think of Ludwig Oberg, Sepp Straka. There's a lot of guys that could really, really play well this week. But a U.S. Open, the whole goal of the USGA is to make sure that every player in the field gets every club dirty in their bag, and including the one in between their ears, which they try to make this the toughest test in golf, and it's awesome to be able to see how these guys deal with the test that is given to them and how they're able to thrive or not in playing a U.S. Open championship.
Bob, we appreciate it. We'll chat with you in a couple of days here, and we'll be, I guess, probably getting to the end of the first day of play in round one at Oakmont for the U.S. Open. Bob Casper, as always, great insights. Nobody does it better than you guys. And being able to be out there and get eyes on that thing is awesome as well. So we appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out with us.
You bet. Appreciate it, guys.
There you go. Bob Casper, everybody. I'm trying to think of there's I don't know what the most historic places are. Oakmont is one of those places, though. That
Pinehurst comes to mind.
Yeah, Pinehurst number 2 last year.
Torrey Pines.
Yeah.
But it's like among those.
The history at those places and the amount of times that the tournament has been played at those different places is kind of crazy. So
Pebble Beach.